Hello, you are there. Good evening and welcome to this edition of Special Interview. Just a few days ago, we were here for a special interview, and this evening we've made another big catch. And this time, we are going to celebrate Abia State. Celebrating Abia in the sense that our son, our brother, our relation, our friend, has gone up there in the United States of America and is doing us proud. A captain in the U.S. Army. And I want to inform you that that captain in the U.S. Army is also a clergyman. He's a chaplain also in the U.S. Army. And this is the way to welcome you in this special edition of Special Interview. This is BCA TV Channel 47 Umuahia, the station born to lead. And we are leading here this evening. I am Hyacinth Okoli, your anchorman. And my guests, the guests I've been talking about, is Dr. Paul Ndoma Vincent. Doc, or Captain, do I call you Captain? You are welcome to the program.
Thanks a lot for having me on the show.
Okay. Doc, I will start by asking you who is, even though I know you're from Abia State, who is Paul Ndoma Vincent?
Well, I would say that Paul Ndoma Vincent is, I was born in Okwe, in Oboro, Ifano local government area. And I grew up partly in Kwara State, partly in Abia State, and partly in Lagos State. I had my primary school in Nigerian Economic Children's School in Jeba, Kwara State. And then when we left and came back here, I completed my primary school at Jeba Community School. And then I attended Oboro Secondary School, after which I went to Ilori in Kwara State, where I had my theological education, which was in affiliation with University of Ibadan. So I had a first degree from University of Ibadan, and I graduated in 1996 in religious studies and theology, of course. And then I've been in ministry since 1990, because while in the Bible school and pursuing my first degree, I was also involved in the ministry in the church in the Lord Kwara State. So when I finished, I came back here to Abia State, pioneered the work between Umuahia and Abia, and later moved over to Lagos. And during those times, I got into writing. I used to write newspaper articles on the Ambassador newspaper many years ago. And then while in Lagos, God opened other doors. I eventually traveled abroad, and then God opened more doors still, and I was able to join the U.S. Army as a chaplain. So I'm doing the same thing I'm doing in the military as I am in the civilian world. So the only difference is that I put on the uniform to do one, and I put on the uniform to do the other. So
Okay.
yeah.
Why did you decide to leave Nigeria?
Well, I would say that God opened the door for me to leave the country, and I had desired and was working on it for quite some time. And at the right time, God opened the door for me to leave the country. Even though I left the country, but our heart is still here. That is why we have to come home, from time to time, because you might be in another country, but you still discover that home is home, and you can't completely run away from home.
Yes, Captain. Of all professions, you decided, a clergyman, to look at or take the option of getting on with life in the military. Why did you choose to belong to the military?
Well, the military is one, and the U.S. military is another, because the U.S. military, of course, we know is the most powerful military in the world. And I think even in the Bible, when we look at the Bible, God is he's a militant God. God is not a civilian God. He is the captain of the host of the heavenly army. In the Old Testament, we see God instruct the people to go to war, to fight, to get the land they had, and to enter the promised land. They had to fight wars. So God is involved in war. Not all wars, some wars. So nations today, I know there are some school of thought that doesn't believe in war, no matter what. But you see that sometimes it's not always the best. But when circumstances come to the point where the only way to bring justice, the only way to enforce right over wrong or evil is war. And when you look at the people that go to war, they are human beings just like us. They have needs. So the function of the chaplain, as we are in the military, is we are like their pastors. So we provide pastoral care and ministry to them, because a civilian can't do it effectively. You are not in their system. You don't know what it feels like to wear the uniform, to go through all they go through. But as a military chaplain, you are out there with them when they train. We run, we do push-up, we do sit-up, all the things they do, we do. So there's not like, okay, he's a chaplain, he won't do this with us. So when you are part of the system, you are part of them, you feel their pain, you know where it hurts. You're effective to minister effectively to them because you are in the same environment with them. So as a chaplain, it gives me an edge, because since I'm a minister on the civilian side before even getting into the military, so I'm able to bring the love of God and the power of the gospel to bring encouragement and pastoral care to them. And in doing that, I'm still doing the work of the Lord, okay, but in uniform.
Let me ask this funny question.
Okay.
A clergyman,
yeah,
in the military,
yeah,
one expects that when there are wars or when there is any war, that clergyman will also be part of the team that will go all out.
Yeah.
And blood is not supposed to be seen stained by the clergy.
Okay.
So what role will you be playing? Can you go combatancy, or do you have a limited role?
Yeah.
Can somebody like you go and start shooting in the war front?
Well, both in the U.S. Army and any military around the world, the chaplain, we are always non-combatant.
Okay.
So as non-combatant, I don't carry gun, I can't touch it, I'm not even allowed to touch it because I'm non-combatant. And even the enemy you fight, they respect and recognize it. The Geneva Convention respects and recognizes that chaplains and some medical personnel are non-combatant. So in that context, I'm able to provide ministry, provide pastoral care for my soldiers without necessarily carrying on. But we do have a chaplain assistant. I have a chaplain assistant who carries the weapon. So if he needs to use the weapon, he can, but I can't. So he's like my bodyguard to protect me if I'm in a combat environment. But if we are not in a combat environment, they do other functions to help us with the work. So yes, as a man of God, as a chaplain, we don't carry gun and we don't shoot or kill anybody, but we are only there to provide ministry and encouragement to those who do the fighting, but we are right there with them in the same environment.
Yes, Captain, let's take a look at the issue of Nigerians in the diaspora.
Okay.
There's no doubt that some Nigerians have been proud in the United States, in Europe, and in Far East. I want to find out from you, how has such people been seen in the United States and these developed nations?
Okay. I think there is always two sides to everything. Nigeria is a great country. We have great people all over the world doing great things. It's true that most times the media, especially foreign media, center more on the negative, and that's just a very tiny fraction of our people who do some things that are not too good. But there are many of us that are out there that are doing a lot of positive things. I mean, there are Nigerians who have occupied positions of prestige, and even in the U.S. military, recently a Nigerian became the first African or Nigerian to become a colonel.
Okay.
And he's from Imo State. So when you look at that in the business, in the entertainment, in every sphere of industry, you see Nigerians excelling. Actually, in the U.S., Nigerians are the most educated among all the immigrants. You see some Nigerians have 2-3 doctorate degrees and chains of degrees, and when you see the accomplishment, somehow it makes you proud, even as a Nigerian. But sometimes when you see, because of the negative influence of few, when they say Nigeria, some people look at you like, do I really want to relate with you? Because they have the mindset of what they've had or seen about others, but it's left for you. By the time they encounter the positive ones like us, they get to know that, okay, not everybody in Nigeria, just that you say Nigeria doesn't automatically mean crime. Okay. There are also Nigerians who have a positive, who are very good people, you know, well trained, well mannered, fear God, love the people, and do good things. So it's always a challenge, but I think the media, like in Nigeria, also have a huge role to try to portray the positive image of Nigerians, what we do at home and what we do abroad. And when there are people like us who, you know, are contributing positively, to be able to project them and let them know, or let the other nations know that, hey, not every Nigerian is a 419, and not every Nigerian is into crime. There are people who have the fear of God, who are doing positive things around the world.
Captain, has there been any instance where maybe a friend of yours, a colleague of yours, or somebody along the street, on hearing you are a Nigerian, will just withdraw to the shell and maybe later trusting you? Or are they judging you by what you do?
Yeah, you know, of course there will be some case it may not be very pronounced. They may not like, but they may have their kind of reservation. But as they get to interact with you and they know, oh, okay, it also depends on the experiences they've had. If it's somebody who maybe got an email, one of those fraud emails from Nigeria, and then from what he's seen, he knows that. So when he meets someone like you, it's like he's not exactly sure if you are authentic, if you're genuine, if you are, you know, one of the fake or the real. But as they get to interact and they know that, okay, you are different, and you also get to let them know that not everybody in Nigeria doesn't mean crime. Nigeria doesn't mean corruption. But we have a long way to go in, you know, convincing them. But of course, there are some times when you come across people, there is that reservation. Like someone like me, when I travel around the world, I travel with my US passport because I'm a US citizen. So that saved me some trouble also of some of the embarrassment. But
what are these embarrassments that you could face if you use your Nigerian passport?
Because when you, because I'm in the US, we are not authorized to have dual citizenship. So I only have
But for those, you know people that discuss with you,
when they travel, the moment you get to any airport in the world and they present the green passport, Nigerian, it's like, okay, step aside. You kind of attract extra scrutiny, extra observation. They want to like check to know if you are carrying drug, if you are what you are and who you are. And then the recent issue of the guy that tried to blow up the plane, you know, now worsened it. So we are also now like on the list of terror. So when you see Nigeria, when they see a Nigerian passport, they also want to be sure not only of drug or other fraud, they also want to check you out if you have any fine, if there's any kind of link. So there's an Igbo proverb that says when one finger gets the oil or dips, you know, the oil, it affects all of that. I think that is what has been the case with Nigeria. One of few bad eggs have really put the whole country in a situation where those who go around and are seen to be Nigerians or carry the passport, they attract undue embarrassment, I would call it, you know, which shouldn't be. But it's one of those things. I think we have a long way to go in trying to make all of that a different experience, because the more we project ourselves in the positive light and the more we project those who do the right things, the more they're able to see that, okay, there are good ones, there are people who do good things and positive things. Not everybody is a terrorist or a criminal or a fraud, you know, and that will go a long way to help. But it will take time, I think, to take some time.
Captain, Nigerians in the diaspora are supposed to be assisting in this campaign you're talking about by behaving positively. In the gatherings of Nigerians, or when you people meet yourselves up there, do you discuss such things, and what is your interest in terms of developing this great country, Nigeria? Because you are coming from Nigeria, these people are seeing you as this and that. What have you people been doing to portray the image of Nigeria in the positive?
I would say that the work that has to be done has to be dual. It's not one way. It has to be from those at home and those abroad. And when I mean those at home, both the leadership and the followership. Okay. Because when the leadership is leading, the world is watching. There's high level of corruption and things are happening, the world is watching. So when also those abroad do whatever they do, they are watching. So when you see a system where those at home and those abroad, what they do is like two different things. You know, it creates the problem and gives the wrong image. But like if like our leaders begin to live in such a way that they lead with vision, they lead with passion to meet the people's needs, and then those also outside the country, they live their life in such a way that it's true that we live in the US or wherever these people live. At the same time, we also like represent our home country, Nigeria. And then you see that the attitude we have in trying to do the right things and trying to behave the way we should, either we are outside the country or inside, that goes a long way, because sometimes some of our people can act right when they are outside, because they know you go to somewhere, maybe a post office, you know you have to queue up. And then suddenly you come home, the same person you see that is behaving, that queues up, knows how to do the right thing, he comes home and suddenly he wants to jump the line. He wants to do things like, it's like there's no law, there's no, you know, organization. So those small things are things that, what I would want to say is, wherever we find ourselves as a leader, as a follower, do the right thing. Okay. Because if you do the right thing, it's like something that can spread like wildfire. And if you do the right thing where you are, and I do the right thing where I am, and people looking at us from afar, it's easy for them to be able to see that, hey, these people are, you know, they have a positive influence. And
okay, Captain, for most of us who are here, we believe things are perfect, or near perfect, in these European countries and the US. When people talk about US, they talk about US as if there is nothing wrong that happens there, except your, you know, digital, when you are on the internet, and know that there are certain negative. Why is it true that things are very or near perfect in those countries, and why?
Well, I would say that since Genesis 3, since the fall of man, no matter the face or anywhere you go in the world, no matter the generation, there is always problem. The problem of sin started from Genesis 3. So every part of the world you go to, you will always find that they have the same problems we have. They have the same crime, problem, sickness. The human problem is universal. But the difference is this. In that part of the world, they seem to be more organized. Things seem to be done in a more organized way. They seem to provide for the needs of the people. There seem to be infrastructure, basic needs of life. Let's use, for instance, power. I mean, that is the most basic things a country or a leader can provide for its people. But when power becomes like a luxury, if you don't have generators to run all the time, you can't have it there, you see that you are operating at a different level altogether. So these people, they are leaders, they think ahead. When they are thinking of planning, they are thinking like 10, 20 years down the road. And you see them plan and try to implement it. It's as if it's something that will happen tomorrow morning. But they are planning ahead. But one of the problems we've had in this part of the world is some of us or some of our leaders don't plan ahead. We don't think ahead. So that means we have a fire brigade approach in solving our problems. Let me say we have 5,000, maybe like 1 million Nigerians, and we need 2,000 megawatts of electricity for today. Planning and leadership means that you look at your growth plan and the population, you say, okay, in 5 years, it's going to be like 10 million. If we need 2,000 megawatts today, in 5 years time or 10 years time, we are going to need maybe 5,000 megawatts. And then you begin to plan towards that. While maintaining what you have, you are also planning towards what the future is going to bring. Yeah. But if you fail to do that, you forget that your population today is going to explode tomorrow. You are going to have more need for domestic power consumption, industrial, and what have you. So at the end of the day, you now wake up suddenly, oh, we have not exploded. We don't even have enough. And then the one you have not even been able to maintain breaks down. And then we get into the situation we are. If there is a visionary leadership, I would call it visionary leadership, where our leaders are able to look and think and plan ahead. Because I tell you, that's one of the basic difference I see between the government there and here, and what some of what they do. So when you elect leaders, they want to serve. When you elect leaders, they want to do something they will be remembered for. If we begin to have leaders that want to have a legacy, they want posterity to remember them for what they've done, then you discover that it will be easier for someone to come into office and work and say, okay, I want to make sure there will be power. I want to build roads. I want to do things that when they leave, people can say, okay, they did this. And over there to them, that is more important to them than money, you know. So some of these are the areas, the differences that we have that eventually reflect in why they have more infrastructure, why they are able to maintain things. Another thing we are not too good in doing here in this part of the world is maintenance culture.
Okay.
Sometimes our government, we can build things and build things. 10, 20 years down the road, you see that there will be decay and things will break down. But over the, they don't wait until there are potholes before they begin to build the road. In fact, if it's a road that's scheduled to be maintained and there's a certain time to do it, they go ahead to do it to reinforce it, not waiting until the pothole is the size of this, you know, table before. So some of those small things, they may look small, but they are all a kind of systemic issues, both from the leadership and the followership. And I know it's a lot of work and we have a long way to go, but if we become determined and decide to try to catch up, our leaders leading, we following, I go back to the issue of doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Simple things are, if you need to drop this into the dustbin, you drop it into the dustbin, not dropping it on the road.
Yeah.
So that way you don't create, you know, garbage on the road where everybody is passing. Like when you go to Abia, for instance, sometimes I've not been there in recent time. I'll be there this weekend, but in those days when you go to Abia, there's a lot of refuge in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
So that kind of scenario, but I'm sure there has been positive changes, because in recent times I do read Nigerian papers.
Okay.
Actually, every day I read Nigerian papers online.
Okay.
You know, Vanguard, The Sun, This Day. So I have an idea of what is happening. But so some of the news I read, I get encouraged. I do follow the Abia State government online on Facebook. You know. Okay. The governor.
Now that you have come into the issue of Abia, let's talk about that. I know while we were discussing, you said after your first stint there, when you went to the US, you stayed almost 7 years without getting down to. But in the past years, you have made it a point of duty to come and see what is happening in your society. Yeah. I'm not too sure whether you've gone round really in Umuahia. Since you have visited Umuahia and since you have been visiting in the past 2-3 years, what is your impression about the type of leadership that we have here in the state?
Yeah, I think from my observations, so from the last 2 years I came, from when I first came 2 years ago and I came last year now, I would say there has been a lot of positive developments, because in the area of security, for instance, before I came 2 years ago, there was I was like not going to be allowed to come because of security issues. You know, the kidnapping thing was up there, but thank God for the governor and the leadership, they were able to, with the military assistance, put the issue under check. And when some of us came, when I came 2 years ago, I was able to move around. I saw there were a lot of military people, but at least it was something that, you know, okay, the government is doing something to be able to help bring the situation under check. So I'll give him credit and the government credit for that. In the area of infrastructure too, like even driving to the studio, I saw the court building. I was asking my driver, that building, I didn't see it before. Is it it's like a new building? He said,
yes, I think
that was a new building. So there have been new
you also have that in Abia too.
Yeah, okay. There have been new structures, there have been new and I've been seeing some of them on Facebook when they post the pictures. Okay. But you know, when you see a picture, it's different when you see it real. Yeah. So you know, okay, it's real, it's not Photoshop. Yeah. Because some people can be accused of, oh, the major, that's not real. But when you see it real, then you say, okay, they are really doing a good job. So I think the government of Abia State and the governor has been doing some good job so far, although there's always room for improvement. Yeah. In everything we do, there's always room for even when I came into BCA and I was with the DJ in his office, and I was like, when I came here last year, this building wasn't there. You know, so he said, yeah, and so I think I want to commend the government of Abia State in that regard. They've been doing a lot, and I want to encourage them to keep doing more. If the target is to leave a legacy, I mean, when you leave office and people will remember you and say, oh, the governor did this, there's no better name than that, and people will remember you for a long time. So I know that there have been more of it. The ones I've seen, and when I get to Abia, I know I will see more of that also, because I hear that there have been some projects also that have been executed, and
Okay, Captain, we are still talking about Abia.
Okay.
We know that there are Abians in the diaspora.
Yeah.
So what are you people planning to also, because we expect that when you move to the US, where things are better,
Yeah.
we also expect that you bring in better ideas,
Yeah.
better equipment,
Yeah.
better infrastructure
Yeah.
for your people, for your brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
What have you people been doing to make sure that your brothers here benefit?
Yeah, for some of us, starting from our families to our communities, to the state at large, I know that we have many of our communities that have like meetings and people that, put us together to plan for what to do to the community, how to move the state forward. And I personally, from my standpoint, I think some of our people have been doing their best, and I know, as I said before, there's also room for improvement. But the government can also help create some of this atmosphere to be able to help bring, for those who want to bring like investment. And it's difficult to do business in the environment we are in, especially because of the power issue.
Okay.
Because when you think of, like, if I want to bring an investment now, to invest, and I check what it will cost me to generate power, especially if it's something manufacturing, you will discover that, hey, if I go over maybe to Ghana or somewhere, I will save a lot more money because there I don't need to generate power. And then, so you see that power becomes a key factor in the economy, in infrastructure, in security. So if someone wants to bring in investment or wants to set up something, they now have to factor in power. And that kind of adds up to the cost. And so the government now speaking to the government at the federal level, because I know that is their major primary assignment. If they could help take care of this power issue, whichever way they can, and they could diversify, not just going through hydro, they could, use other options to generate power. Many other countries around the world, they don't just depend on one source. Yeah. You could use solar, you could use hydro, you could use nuclear. There are other options you can use. So
there's no way you can come in here and leave the studio without discussing what you do, okay, and where you practice.
Okay.
Recently, Nigeria has been facing serious challenges in the security. Yeah. And it's a new development in our life. Terrorism has never been there in Nigeria, and we just started experiencing it in the last few years. Yeah. How best do you think we can tackle this problem?
I think two major advice I will offer that could be the key to solving the security issue. One is intelligence. Two is technology. Of course, even in a country like US, another part of the world, those are the two main keys. There are others, but these two keys will give you advantage. Intelligence, in that you don't wait until something happens before you react. When you react, it's already too late, like what happened in Abuja a few days ago. Yeah. At that time, you are reacting, people are already dead, so it's already too late. You need to be able to be ahead of the bad guy. You need to be able to have a way of having information, that is intelligence. Because if you have an information on the intelligence as to what he's planning to do and you intercept him, you will save a lot of lives and you will stop bad things from happening. So the area of intelligence is an area that the Nigerian government and people need to wake up to be able to learn how to be able to be ahead of the bad guys, whoever they are, either kidnappers, either armed robbers, either terrorists, Boko Haram or whoever. Intelligence will put you ahead of them, because when you intercept what they're planning, what they want to do, you can stop it. But if you wait for it to happen, then it will be too late. The next thing is technology, which is also tied to this, because with the age of technology, you can be able to have intelligence much more easier. We need to begin to invest in technology that will help both in the area of intelligence, in checkmating the evil guys, and in fighting them even when they stand up to do whatever they want to do. And that also comes back to the issue of power, because there's no way you talk of technology. I mean, the basic primary thing is power. Okay. Let me give you an instance. If you have security cameras on the street and in your building, if it's night and there's no light, everywhere is dark, the technology that was supposed to serve a purpose, it won't serve that purpose because it can't pick up anything. But if power is there, there is light, and then You now invest in technology, cameras, things that can be able to pick up things, and even things like listening to when people make calls. I know that is, we're not up there because even over there, the government can get a court injunction and have the permission to know when the bad guys are planning or communicating, and eventually, so those are some of the areas that we can be able to step ahead or preempt what the bad guys. I use the bad guys in the general sense, you know.
Well, Captain, as a man of God,
Yeah.
what have you for the people of Nigeria?
Well, I would say I'm glad to be home, even though I came with a visa, and I thank God that they were able to give me a visa to visit. Nigerians are great people. We are resilient. We don't easily give up. Some part of the world, any small thing, they commit suicide. You hardly see it happen in Nigeria, even in the worst of scenarios that we go through. So we are a resilient people. We are people that love God, and we are hardworking. I know there are some bad eggs too, but for the majority of us, Nigerians are hardworking. I want to encourage people out there. You might be going through a challenging time. Things might seem to be difficult. I know we're also people that have faith in God. I want to encourage us, no matter where you are, not to give up on life, because some people get to the point like they want to give up on life. They feel like, it's not working. But even at the point when we feel like things are not working, God can still make a way. God can still intervene. And I want to encourage you out there to keep faith and to trust God in any situation you find yourself. God is able to give you a turnaround. And when God intervenes, He does things that only He can do. Even if man had given up on you and there seemed to be no hope, humanly speaking, God can turn any situation around. And I know that with faith in God and refusing to give up, because like one of my books, Persistent Works, when we give up on the promises of God or something we are praying and believing God for, it's like we have aborted it, because when God answers your prayer, it will take time for it to manifest physically. You need that faith and patience. The Bible says we should follow those who through faith and patience obtain the promise. But when we give up before we even see what we have prayed for, that it's like we've aborted the miracle we need and we are believing God. So I want to encourage people, no matter whatever it is, challenges you are going through in life, not to give up, to trust God and to persevere and believe that with God, all things are possible. And God will turn that situation around.
Well, dear viewer, it is on that note that we draw the curtain in today's program. I want to thank Captain Vincent for coming to this program, and I want to encourage you, anytime, any day you come around, just visit the BCA.
Thanks a lot.
For us to have great experience from you. Thank you for being here with us.
Thanks a lot. God bless
On
you.
behalf of the BCA management, that made sure that this program came up, because it's not easy to catch a big fish like this. And those that are operating from behind the scene, I am Hyacinth to coincide. Goodbye and God bless.
Niger.